Are knitting podcasts dead? I don't know. You tell me. Over the past year, I've noticed a steep decline in knitting podcasts. Some of my favorites not posting for months or turning off their channels completely. Even comments on podcasts saying they don't watch anymore, and I want to know why. So is it the end of knitting podcasts or is it something else? This intro is so dramatic and not usually what I do, but it's pretty fun. Hello everyone, my name is Bash Harry. This is the Harry Knit. I am a knitter based in Brunei. You can find some of my designs on Ravelry, like bandanas that are usually really great if you have really greasy hair like I usually do after the gym. I was supposed to wear it now, but I washed my hair just for you. I want to note that this is not a full breakdown. It's more of a discussion between you and I. I don't have a lot of knowledge, just in general, but specifically about this, I feel like it needs more research into this very minor thing. So leave your thoughts down below if you think it's dying or if it's changing, but of course, be civil. We're always nice here. If you're a subscriber, you're nice, so subscribe. I want to talk about this because I've been thinking a lot about knitting podcasts, YouTube, changes in social media, and where it's going. I saw Laura Penrose's video a few days ago about podcasts and why she might not be doing as many podcasts on the Knitting Pickle as she used to, and why she was focused on vlogging lately. I was also making my own vlog a few weeks ago about knitting my whips in 1 week and how much fun it was, even if editing wasn't. I was also thinking about the other comments I've been seeing on other podcasts about podcast fatigue and how everything was so similar. It just got me thinking, is knitting podcast dead? Is something going on in the water? Or is it something else? Before we get into it though, I do want to thank Craftsy for sponsoring this video. I'm really excited to have Craftsy as a sponsor because they were probably my first introduction to knitting when I was 12, 13 years old. Craftsy is an online community and resource where millions of crafters, makers, and DIY enthusiasts find creative inspiration, advance their skills, and learn new ones along the way. They offer more than 2,000 exciting classes in over 20 popular categories like crochet, knitting, photography, cake decorating, woodworking, and so much more. Classes are broken down into easy to follow lessons and are led by friendly, award-winning instructors who share their creative wisdom as they provide step-by-step demonstration. Personally, I want to start getting back into sewing again, so Craftsy is here to help me on my journey. Craftsy has so many sewing classes, but the one that I'm currently learning from is Sewing Essentials by Ashley Hugh. She takes me through all the essentials that I need to get started with my sewing. The first 1,000 people to use the link below or this QR code can get a year of Craftsy Premium for only $1.49. Yes, that is $1.49. This offer is for new members only, so grab it while you can. And thanks to Craftsy for sponsoring this video. Before we get into the hullabaloo of the reasons why I think knitting podcasts are dying, let's define what a knitting podcast is. To me, I would define a knitting podcast as a long form video. Could be audio, but I mean, you want to see the product, so video. And it tends to be in FOs, whips, yarn acquisitions, and life updates. I personally love life updates because I am a nosy bitch and I love seeing what people go on in their day-to-day life. I started watching knitting podcasts around November 2021 during Brunei's second wave of the panorama. I was bored at home, couldn't get out of my house, I didn't know any knitters around me, and I started watching so many knitting podcasts. It was very relatable. I saw people who were my age yapping about knitting and yarns that I wish I could touch. They were having conversations about things that I felt really understood by. And there was also community aspect to it. Seeing people comment about what they were making as well was really inspiring to me as just a viewer. And also, knitting podcasts in 2021 to me were very new. They were really fun. I got inspired to make knitting YouTube videos because I was watching so many of them. But lately, I've noticed that the channels that I used to watch have slowly reduced their video output or just stopped completely. And I want to know why. So let's look at this between two sides, as a creator and as a viewer, because I am both. I am both the creator and the consumer. I want to note that some of these will overlap, and it's very subjective, personal opinions. I have not researched any of this. This is just me yapping, okay? I want to talk about how it feels like as a creator. One, as a creator, sometimes making a podcast feels rushed. And I feel like it is a cycle that a lot of people are trying to break. There are months where I do not post a knitting podcast simply because I don't have anything ready. I don't have any FOs. Maybe my whips have been languishing for months and I haven't picked it up, but I'm forced to finish it or buy something new just to talk about it in the podcast, and it can be a very overwhelming process.
Editing Bash here. I am supposed to be packing. I'm flying off tomorrow at 6 a.m. and it's currently 9 p.m. on the dot. I was supposed to finish this video, but I just wanted to add on because I don't think I clarified enough. I'm being very hyperbolic in this clip. You do not need to rush your projects just because you're trying to appease the algorithm or your idea of creating X amount of projects in a year. Knitting is a slow hobby. It deserves to be slow. I just wanted to point that out there. It's something that I still struggle with, to know that I do not need to make so many things in a year, and that it's okay. Just wanted to clarify that. It's definitely something that I'm still struggling to accept and deal with. But yeah, okay, back to the video, then I can start packing.
I have definitely made podcast videos where I was rushing to make it. Were they any good? You tell me. Sometimes I would have to feel like I need to make a video each week to make a quota, or else the YouTube algorithm, the almighty, would hate and flag my video. Sometimes it still feels that way. Other times I can't be asked. The second reason why I think knitting podcasts are dying from a creator's perspective is because knitting podcasts are super, super niche. They are much more nicher compared to larger podcasts like financial, fitness, generic podcasts with celebrities that you could yap about. So when you already have a very small niche and you're trying to get an even smaller number, there's sort of like you're already grabbing a small pot from an even smaller pot. Or like you're trying to get a small ladle of soup from an already small subsection of soup. This metaphor isn't going as well as I intended, but you know what I mean. I feel like the knitting podcast layout is very standardized. So you could see the same type of video over and over with the same sort of layout, you know, FO, whip, yarn acquisitions, maybe some differences here and there, but it is very simple and a lot of people do it, which obviously can make it feel a little bit languishing, even from a creator's perspective. And of course, yes, there is that boom when you have a new podcast out. Like I notice that whenever there's a new knitting podcast out, I will watch it because it's a new person on my feed. What are they making? Am I going to get inspired? But eventually those views start to decline. That gets really frustrating. And that also leads me, I think, to my third point, which is burnout. Burnout is real, and you can get burned out by a lot of things, even a hobby. Knitting is one hobby, one that I love so much, but editing a video is also a hobby that takes time, effort, and sometimes stress, even if you're doing it for fun. I cannot tell you how many times I had to delay a video simply because my editing software was not working well. Also, if you're working in a career, your career usually goes first. If you have kids, if you have other priorities in life, you have to choose that over a knitting podcast, and that's totally fine. Life happens, but if you don't choose it or you're trying to balance it all, sometimes it gets so overwhelming that you can't. And also a fourth point that I want to say, but I think this is more of a personal opinion than anything else, is comparison. Comparison is so scary, just in general, but I notice it sometimes when I'm watching YouTube videos where there would be comments saying they prefer one creator over another, or they're generalizing podcasters. And as someone who gets bad anxiety and stress, it's overwhelming to see these comparisons because there are a myriad of creators, so many new, old creators who are making incredible content, and I feel like that comparison drives me incredibly crazy, even if I try not to think about it. It brings a lot of unwarranted feelings, at least in my opinion. So sometimes a part of me is always like, maybe I should stop my brain from thinking of this by just stop making videos and podcasts altogether. And that's scary. Why would you do that? Me, my brain. So that's what I think from a creator's perspective, why knitting podcasts are dying. But let's look at it from a viewer's perspective. One, and this kind of overlaps with what I talked about, podcasts can be very boring and repetitive. They follow the same generic formula, the FOs, the whips, the yarn acquisitions. And to some people, it's nice to have something that is repetitive, cozy, you know what you're seeing, you can see how these projects are going, but often these patterns can also overlap and you don't have a lot to say about it. For example, the ranunculus. I have seen videos and comments of people complaining about how so many people are making the ranunculus. I have also made the ranunculus, and it is a very nice pattern. I actually really liked making it. But it's true, there are so many patterns that are unique, but it does feel like the same podcasters are making the same patterns because, it's a circle. Something gets popular, people make it, other people make it, and it goes round and round until there's a new thing happening. Not saying it's a bad thing, I'm just saying it's very common and it feels very repetitive to some. Another thing that I want to note is that sometimes viewers have change of habits. Personally, from my experience, I used to watch knitting podcasts when I'm knitting to get inspired, but lately I've been watching a lot of vlogs. I've been watching a lot of knitting vlogs. Sometimes it's about art. I really love art vlogs and watching other people paint because I don't know how to paint and I'm really bad at it. I also love watching travel vlogs. That's okay. I mean, preferences change, but that also means less viewers are watching sit down yapping podcasts in general because there's always something new to see on YouTube. Sometimes I don't want to know what someone's making. Sometimes I want to watch them make it, I think there's a difference between telling and showing, very simple writing terms that I feel like could be applicable here too. And the next thing to note that I think we've brought on again and again is oversaturation. There are incredible knitters who are making incredible YouTube videos. There are so many, but I can't watch them all, unfortunately. I mean, we only have 24 hours in a day, and a majority of it I use to sleep. Even my favorite YouTubers, sometimes I will see a video of them popping up and I won't watch it because I'm not interested. That's fine. That happens. I'm sure people skipped on this video too, but if you didn't, you're so great. You're so fun. Thank you. Have a cookie for me. All of this to say, I can see why knitting podcasts are slowing down, but it doesn't mean I don't think they're valuable anymore, nor do I think it means people are sick of them. I still watch knitting podcasts, especially if I want to know what pattern they're making, what their thoughts are. If I'm thinking of making a pattern and I saw another podcaster actually worked it up, I want to see their thoughts. I want to see how it fits on them. But at the same time, I do think the landscape is changing, and maybe knitting podcasts aren't as popular in this community because other things are. We're going to be talking about TikTok. Ugh. TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels. Is short form video the way to go? I don't know. and I don't know if I like it either. A lot of niche spaces thrive on short form content. Take, for example, beauty. I loved beauty YouTube back in 2016. It was the height. We had Nikki tutorials, we had Michelle Phan, we had so many incredible beauty YouTubers that barely make videos now. It was slowly dying in 2019, but once TikTok rolled around, there was a huge boom because beauty talk is short, it's quick. I don't think I've ever seen a beauty video that was more than 2 seconds long on TikTok. That's just one example, but I think another better comparison for knitting YouTube and knitting TikTok probably would be BookTube and BookTok. I try to avoid BookTok as much as possible, even as a reader, because sometimes there's a lot of things going on and I'm a little scared of them. BookTok is very different. It's short, it's sensational. It focuses a lot on quick hits, in my opinion. The booktubers that I've been watching at least have a lot more videos that are longer, more chatty, more inquisitive. They're also a lot more creative. You can see the difference between BookTube and BookTok a lot more clearer because of the type of videos they make, the type of content, and who it is for. And I think you can see something similar going on with knitting talk and knitting YouTube. I don't know what the short versions are. Sorry. With knitting YouTube, I feel like you'll see a lot of vlogs, a lot of podcasts, maybe even tier ranking. I've seen them. I've probably made a couple, although I don't think I've done a tier ranking yet. I really, really want to. Whereas with knitting talk, you will see a lot of video inspiration, comedy, personality, less than 10 seconds at most, and those are fun too. All of this to say, there is a rise of short form video content that is pushed by this almighty algorithm for some reason that's easy to consume for everybody. It's really for this generic craft audience rather than this hyper specific niche. It's supposed to just be easy to consume. We don't want people to spend so much time on this long 20-minute video when they could just watch, 10 2-minute videos, get as much out as possible. Is short form video making our brains rot faster? Probably. Am I scared of my phone listening to me? Yes. Am I ever going to stop posting, crawl inside a hole, and become the hermit that I truly feel I am deep in my core? Maybe. I don't know at this point. The internet that we know now is different than what it was 5 years ago. 5 years ago, it was Instagram and photos. 10 years ago, it was blogging and writing articles. Now, it is short form video. Whether it's good or not, leave it in the comments below to decide. I'm making this video mostly because I'm thinking about where I want this channel to go. As much as I love knitting and yapping about my knitting and feeling like there's a community here at the Hairy Knit, I also know it gets tiring and stressful to make something that flops or gets less people than I thought it would to watch, even if I did really, really hard to make that video work. It makes me think, am I creating to appease myself or the audience or the almighty algorithm? And I think I'm not the only one that feels that way. As a creative, I want more time to pursue art, to knit more and design patterns, but I can't do that if I'm worried about what's the next video I'm going to post next week, what is the next trend I have to do on TikTok or Reels. I would love to know your thoughts on this because I don't have an answer for myself. But at the same time, I don't necessarily think knitting podcasts are dead. I think they're just evolving. Not only in the short form content, but in other forms of knitting content too. So for example, live streaming. Tiffany Liu is one YouTuber that got me inspired in the beginning, and she has started making a lot of live streams. I think on Twitch, I think, is the live stream podcast, but she also does it here on YouTube. I know a lot of other knitters that I've seen who have started doing live streaming for more real life interaction. Some of my friends here are gamers, but they're also streamers for crochet, and I think that's very, very cool. It's great for them. I have been thinking of doing it too, but I don't have the willpower for it. I can barely yap to my camera for more than 30 minutes. I don't know if I have the willpower to do a live stream. You could. Another thing that I've noticed what has changed is the switch between knitting podcasts to knitting vlogs. I have been really into knitting vlogs right now, and I want to make more. I watch a lot of vlogs in general about creatives and artists because it makes me feel very cozy and inspired. I love looking into other people's lives because it feels fun and nice, like having a friend. That parasocial relationship is hitting me real nice. When it comes into mixing with knitting, I think I see a lot more growth to that too, having knitting as one aspect of the vlog rather than the whole thing. So I'm also looking into exploring that too. And one last thing I want to note on, as other forms of knitting content, is community spaces. I've noticed this across all my hobbies. I think people are choosing to do a lot more real life interaction rather than being at home and doing their hobby alone. They want to experience it with other people, so to speak. I've hosted craft clubs last year. I want to do more where we just gather around knitting, crochet, anything you want to do, and we just hang out and craft. And I think that's incredible. Like, it's literally a touch grass moment, and it's fine. It's perfect. It's amazing. Side note, me and my best friend joined a silent reading club where we go to the park, we sit down in our camping chairs and just read a book in silence with a group of people. You don't have to talk, and it's amazing. I read so much. My introverted self is so happy to not hear anyone yap, and also I get to experience the lovely weather. Except today, it's raining really badly today. All of these things are different forms of knitting content that I think people are exploring more and evolving away from the knitting podcast. So I guess the question now is it the end of the knitting podcast? Maybe, not really. I don't know, it's complicated. I told you, this is not going to have a fully fleshed answer at the end. This is a discussion that I'd love to have your thoughts on. I think what's happening is very natural. It's a shift in culture, like many things. Knitting is only one aspect of a very subset culture that we have, at least. It's a change of the things that have come before. Blogs used to be big before YouTube, and YouTube, though still one of my favorite platforms, is slowly shifting away from long-form content into shorts. And Instagram and TikTok, we know what they're like. Even then, I think about it, people used to get their information for knitting patterns back in knitting magazines that I didn't have a lot of access to as a young girl, but that's what people were interested in 30, 50 years ago. And even before then, knitting was a more traditional hobby that you could make clothes and you were taught down. I think with knitting podcasts, it went from magazines to blogs to YouTubes, now on to shorts and other forms of media. I think things change. Whether or not that's a good thing, I don't know. I mean, for me personally, I'll still watch knitting podcasts here and there, but it's not my favorite form of media to consume anymore. Even on this channel, I may post more podcasts. I mean, I just posted one a few weeks ago. I might not. Who knows? I might make more vlogs. I might not. This is my channel. I get to do what I want. But maybe the answer is to just interact with people in real life, touch some grass, knit with people, create more community events, which I really, really love doing. It doesn't have to be that one's dead or one's the future. It's how do we show our love for knitting, and how will that evolve, as it always has and always will. These are just my thoughts. If you have any thoughts of your own, leave them in the comments down below. Do you think knitting podcasts are dying? Is it changing? Is it something else entirely? Let me know in the comments down below, and don't forget to subscribe. I also found out that 75% of you who watch this channel are not subscribed, so go subscribe. thank you very much. Anyway, my name is Bash Harry. This is the Harry Knit, and I will see you soon. Okay, bye.